right. Good morning, everyone. We will call the meeting to order this morning at 9:02 a.m. In the true spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge all those who call this land home now and for thousands of years in the past. May we respect each other and find understanding together and recognize the benefits that this land provides to all of us. Before you, you have a proposed agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hillary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a subdivision that was originally missed on the agenda, so we would like to add that to the agenda. It is for subdivision 2025-0-011 for Vandenberg cattle.
Thank you, Hillary. That'll be D1.2. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Can I get a mover? Claus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Claus. Claus is moved to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving down, item C. Before you, you have the County Council meeting minutes of May 1st, 2025. Are there any errors, omissions, any issues arising from the minutes? John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the minutes as presented.
John has moved for the adoption of the minutes of the May 1st, 2025 County Council meeting as presented. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We do have two time commitments today. We have a 9:30 a.m. delegation, and then we have two public hearings set to begin at 10 a.m. So with that, why don't we move down to our department reports. We can start at D1, Development and Infrastructure, D1.1, our capital projects update. Good morning, Devin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Council. So I'm here to give Council an update for the first quarter of 2025 on the county's capital projects. I should also include, county capital projects and regional projects in which we're partners with other municipalities and entities. I'll outline their progress, challenges, and any significant changes. A breakdown of each project, including timelines and budget status, is included in the attached document, and the purpose of this update is to ensure Council remains informed on the status of these projects. So I'm going to jump into the attached summary of projects, and then I'll kind of jump back into my Council report. So the first project, if I can refer you to the attachment, is the Eastern Industrial Transmission Pipeline. So that project was completed on March 24th. McCain's is now drawing water from that pipeline and will be ramping up to full production within a few months here. They are still commissioning their upgrades within the facility, but we are expecting within the next few months they will be in full production. So that project overall went very well, went very smooth, and yeah, the contractor did a pretty good job from our perspective in getting that line in the ground and minimizing interruption to local residents and traffic and things like that. So the next one is the Rave Industrial Park upgrades. So that one was completed last fall, October 15th of 2024. That one did have some challenges as that industrial park is quite old, and when it was constructed, very poor drainage and utilities were not really taken into consideration. So within the road structure itself, there was a bit of a spider web of utilities to work through, but the engineer and the contractor did a good job of working around that, and I'm very happy with the end result that they provided at the end of the day. So the next is Bridge File 79601. So that was completed not too long ago. That was on March 17th. That one is just northwest of the town of Coaldale, and that was your standard bridge replacement project with twin culverts. The next one is the Westview Road cement stabilization. So that one was completed last fall on October 30th. That one again it had some bumps along the way, but at the end of the day, I'm very happy with the product that we received. And from what I hear from Councillor Slump, the residents out there are happy with that product, so that's good to hear. The next one is our bulk water fill access, control, and monitor. So that's our upgrade from the CompuTrol system to the new Connex system. So currently, both of those systems are running in parallel. What we did is have a 2-month overlap from the old system and the new system to give people time to transfer over to that new system. And what I'm hearing so far are good things about the system from users and up front. And we are looking at June 1st, so in a couple weeks, completely decommissioning the old system and going fully on that new Connex system for our water fill stations.
Sorry, go ahead, Laura.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question, are they gonna raise up where the fob goes now? Because you just about have to be a 6-year-old to read what it says down there.
Oh, okay. That's something
That's
I
the
can
only
definitely look at.
It works great, but it was very difficult to read because you had to get,
The screen is too low.
there was no screen, but the instructions were way down there.
Oh, okay.
too? Yes, Morris, even for me.
Morris, I'm glad you said it, 'cause I was
I can definitely look into that for you, Councillor Hickey.
Go ahead, Cole.
We should, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We should check all of them, but specifically which station was this one at?
the airport.
The airport,
Airport,
okay, thank you.
It's just they put it in below the old one, or the new one.
Oh, okay.
And you couldn't,
Oh, okay.
hard to read down there.
Okay.
Wow.
So maybe when we switch over completely to the new one, we can remove the old one and put the new one in the old one's place. But I will look into that, certainly. So the next one is bridge file 79834 removal. So this initially was a replacement project. However, we worked with the LNID because they had a pipeline project that was going to stop just short of our bridge. And we said, can you extend that underneath our road so we can actually eliminate our bridge? And they were very accommodating and worked with us on that. So that is actually completed. The asphalt is in place. We had a $400,000 budget and we're going to be about probably $44,000 all in on that project. So, and we don't have a bridge to maintain or replace in the future anymore. So very happy with that project, how it turned out. Next one is the Broxburn wastewater treatment. So this one has been ongoing for quite some time. So we did initially have a system picked out last year through an RFP process. Through further engineering with MPE, we found that that system was going to be too expensive and probably a little bit much for what we needed out there. So I have been chatting with MPE a lot and reaching out to installers of these types of systems. And we're gonna have an installer come down from northern Alberta and to do an inspection on it, but he thinks we may be able to rehabilitate that existing system and get it functioning again. So that is my hope, that we can fix what we have on site and not have to replace it. If it can't be replaced, I'm going to explore just putting in another mountain system out there. Instead of a more of a mechanical system, which is more expensive, there's more operating implications there, and a mound system is very, very maintenance friendly. You install it, you kind of set it, you forget it, you inspect it periodically, but they do tend to function nicely on their own. So that is the plan with that project. As I said, still working with MPE on that one, but we are going to get that specialist to come down and take a look at our system and see what they think about it. So further updates on that one, hopefully in my next update report, I'll have a lot more detail for you on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Devin and the team for asking a lot of hard questions, because the path we were on would have had multi-million-dollar implications for the county. And so Devin pushing back, moving through that, it's been a significant administrative burden moving through that to try and resolve some of the original issues. But I just want to express my appreciation specifically on that project, because I think we're going to have a much more viable, sustainable long-term solution for 20 cents on the dollar type thing at the end of this. So it's not done, but it's a huge win for us as we move through this.
Thanks. So the next one is the Shaughnessy Lagoon and road upgrades. So this is to rehabilitate the lagoon in Shaughnessy, replace the transfer structures, take care of a little bit of erosion, and the replacement of a portion of Logan Street. So we did, I'm happy to report that we did successfully get a AMWWP grant in the amount of about $1 million for that project. So if you recall, last year we applied for it, we were not successful, and my recommendation was to wait, apply again, and hopefully get the funds, and we did receive that. So that contract has been awarded to Whistle, and I'm just awaiting a schedule from them on that project, so.
Go ahead, Claus.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question on that. So the Shaughnessy, you were working on it last year with the empty the lagoons and everything like that.
Mhm.
And I got emails from the Shaughnessy Association there that they're impatient, and I guess they're going to be bringing it up their annual general meeting, and I'm happy to hear that we're going to have some people go there the 28th of May, so then everything can be explained because they need a little explanation.
Okay. Thank you. The next one is bridge file 79230. So that's our one and only major bridge on the Kip Highway at the CP Marshalling Yard. So that is still in the detailed design phase. The engineer that was working on it had to do a little bit more work, and he had to bring in a third-party engineer to kind of review the design that he has put together. But we're hoping shortly we can get that tender out and get that bridge repaired shortly. And I just want to reiterate that there is no imminent concern for safety for that bridge file right now. It is safe for passage. This is just an item that was identified that should be corrected now to prevent any further deterioration to the bridge file. But it is completely and 100% safe to pass for vehicle traffic. And again, another bridge file 70758. This one is also in the detailed design phase, and it is replacement of it's a culvert, actually a culvert bridge with a larger culvert bridge. This one is it's not crossing an irrigation canal, it's crossing a natural tributary, so we're not bound by the irrigation season to have this one constructed. So I expect this tender is going to go out shortly, and we'll see some action out there this summer probably on that one. The next one is the administration building LED lights. So that contract has also been awarded, and they are ordering materials. There's about a 3-month lead time on some of the lights, especially for these waffle ceilings. It's a specialty light. So these style lights, the old tube style lights, are all going to be replaced with an LED fixture on all 3 levels of the building. And we're expecting that to occur probably in August sometime is when they're going to come in, spend a week or 2 here and get all those lights replaced. The next one is Group Country Residential Microsurfacing. So this is resurfacing of some paved roads in some Group Country residential subdivisions, being Park Lake Estates, St. Marie Estates, and Mountain Meadows. I just met with actually the engineer yesterday, and we're going to get the tender out for the microsurfacing. There's a couple select soft spot repairs that we have to take care of prior to doing that microsurfacing. And then as well, the Park Lake Estates, after further evaluation, the engineer recommended to not do a microsurfacing, so we're going to adjust our methodology a little bit, and we're actually going to pulverize that existing surface and put a thin lift asphalt overlay on top of it. So looks-wise, feel-wise, functionality, it'll be the same as a microsurfacing, just a little bit different process, just because that road wasn't quite suitable for that microsurfacing product. But even with all of that, we are still within our budget, and I'm confident that that is going to turn out to be a really nice product for the residents in Park Lake Estates. So. The next one is sanitary sewer pipeline lining. So this is involving basically rehabilitating some of our sanitary sewer infrastructure to prevent water infiltration and to prevent failure of old clay pipes. So in Shaughnessy, for example, I'm doing some lining out there because we have old clay tile pipe, and as you know, that's very brittle, and over time it can crack and collapse and obstruct the pipe itself. So we're going to do some lining out there, and then in Broxburn, I had some CCTV camera footage done not too long ago, and they actually found that it's not the pipe joints itself that are leaking, it's the barrels of the manholes. We have some infiltration between the different manholes come in layers, and in between those layers we're seeing some infiltration. So there is solutions for that. You can basically drill holes all around the manhole, inject like a foam type product. It seals it from the outside, and then you spray an epoxy on the inside. And that's how you seal that manhole off. What they also found during the development of that business park, when the sewer connections were put in, there's a very good chance there was not actually a cap put on the end of that sewer, or if it was, it wasn't glued on, because we're seeing a lot of water infiltration through those connections and debris in there. So that project, while it is still rehabilitating the sanitary system, is going to shift a little bit from a liner to rehabilitating those manholes, and we'll actually have to excavate a couple of those service connections and properly cap them, because that is where a majority of that water is coming into the system, which also led to the problems with the wastewater system, because it was being inundated with all of that groundwater. So the good news is the pipe itself is fine, but it's the manholes and the service connections that we need to look at. Mountain Meadow slope remediation, so that project was recently awarded to DeGraff. We're just awaiting a schedule on that one. However, you will see in my report here that we are requesting a bit of a budget increase on that one, as the tender price came in a little bit more than the engineer's estimate. It is technically within the CAO's threshold, but that doesn't leave much of a contingency, and with a project like this, we want to have a bit of a contingency on that, so.
Just wait.
Anyway, I'll get to that one later in the report. And then finally, the CPKC road cement stabilization. So that project has also been recently awarded to Westcan Seal Coating. They're going to be coming in September and completing that portion of road from the Kip Road to just past the CP marshalling yard. And it's going to be that same cement stabilization and double chip seal that we did on the Westview Road last year.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure this is the time, but just it sparked a question. In terms of that, the treatment for the road, is it able to handle significant weights?
Yes, it is. They actually go down a foot and treat a foot of the material underneath with cement powder. So you do get a very strong base underneath there, and then your chip seal does add a little bit of structure, but it's more of a wear course to protect that underlying layer.
Okay, so, you know, for the CP road there, if they happen to have any heavy truck traffic in there, then it will hold up to
Yeah,
it fine.
absolutely,
Yeah.
not a problem. Yeah. You're welcome. And then I'll just give you a brief update on our regional projects that we're partnering on with other municipalities and entities. So the Horsefly Spillway, which you're all aware of. So phase 1 is complete. That's from Tabor Lake to the Old Man River. Phase 3 recently got completed not too long ago. That's up at the Horsefly Spillway outlet itself. And phase 2 is still in regulatory and the engineering phase. There is a lot of complexities with phase 2 just crossing the highway. The highway's planned to be twinned. The CPKC line is right there. Atlantic Sugar is right there. So there's a lot of complexities with that portion. So they are still working through not some issues, just some challenges, and working with CPKC to come to a resolution on that.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. So is that the infrastructure they're putting in by the sugar plant now? Or is that something different?
That's probably to do with the twinning of the highway.
Yeah, they're putting in culverts there.
Atlantic
Well,
Sugar, or
Yeah, east of Atlantic Sugar, a
East?
little ways. So is that, I just wondered if that's part of this.
potentially, because we have coordinated with Alberta Transportation to increase the bridge culvert or bridge at that location to allow that what we need for design capacity to flow through there. So that it could be part of that, but just under Alberta Transportation's contract. Yeah. The next one is Moy Phase 2B, so that's the raw water reservoirs. That project is completed and in the warranty phase. We had a walkthrough on that site a few weeks ago, and everything looks great, so that is completed. And then the next one, which is the South Coaldale Stormwater Management Facility, that contract has also been awarded and construction will commence shortly. That's Dennis Dirtworks that won that contract, and we got actually very good pricing from him. So glad to see that that one's progressing, and I'm glad to see the pricing that we got on that one, because we'll save probably a couple $100,000 on that one. So the regional water concept development study, I'll kind of lump that with the wastewater concept study. That one is nearing the final stages of development, still in the data acquisition and engineering phase, as there is still some information that is needed from the city of Lethbridge to complete that study. I don't necessarily have an end date on that because the city isn't quite sure when they can provide that information, because they're also going through some detailed design phases right now on their end, but that one is progressing. And then finally, the accessibility to water through enhanced irrigation network study. So we did get that ACP grant. We did enter into an MOU with the SMRED and LNID, and that's really just outlining our collaborative framework. It's saying that no result of this study shall commit any party to anything. If this study says we can save X amount of water, that doesn't mean the county or anybody gets that. That's the irrigation district's water. And we want to make sure they felt comfortable entering into this project and knowing that that is still under their control. And so I just need to get the RFP issued. I'm also going to work with them on the development of that RFP, and we'll get that out shortly and get that project going as well. Was there any questions on the updates of the projects before I get back into the report? If not, I will continue with my report. So when the 2025 budget was approved, it did provide flexibility to administration to manage project expenditures on a program level and not an individual project level. However, 2024 capital projects and any projects approved through resolution does not provide administration this flexibility. So I do have two projects that are running a slight deficit. So that's the Mountain Meadows project, which had a approved budget of $250,000, and we are requesting an amendment to $300,000, which is an increase of $50,000. And then Bridge File 70758, that was approved in the 2024 capital with $400,000, and we are requesting an increase of $50,000 for that. Both of those projects, myself and Graham met with the engineers multiple times and tried to squeeze that design down to bring it within budget, and the engineers did a good job of reducing the scope and kind of eliminating some potential risks for the contractor, because the more risk there is, the higher the price is. So I was happy that we were able to get it down to where we did, but we still are running a slight deficit. So both of those projects, we would be looking for an addition of $50,000 for those. As I said before, these projects do fit within the thresholds of the CAO with contingencies removed. However, leaving no contingencies for construction does pose a risk if unforeseen issues arise on site. The savings on Bridge File 70758 of approximately $350,000 will be more than adequate to fund the deficit of these two projects. So with that, the recommendations before council today. First, that County Council receive the capital project update for information. The second is that County Council approve a budget increase of $50,000 for a total of $300,000 funded from the Public Works Project Reserve for the Mountain Meadows Slope Remediation Project. And thirdly, that County Council approve a budget increase of $50,000 for a total of $450,000 funded from the Bridges and Paved Roads Reserve for Bridge File 70758. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Devin. I would open up to council. Do you have any questions from Devin's report? John? Oh, sorry, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you said there was some savings on the one. Does that go back into the budget, or how?
So it's reserve funded, so we're just not drawing that money from the reserve for that particular
okay.
project. Yeah.
Okay.
Mark?
I would move that the county council receive the capital project update for information.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved that County Council receive the capital project update for information. Is there any discussion? I will call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And then the two recommendations. John, go ahead.
Thanks. Devin, I'm pretty sure when you retire, anything regarding Mountain Meadows slope remediation will probably be haunting you for the rest of your life. But I would like to move that I'd like to move that County Council approve the budget increase of $50,000 for a total of $300,000 funded from the Public Works Project Reserve for the Mountain Meadows Slope Remediation Project.
Thank you, John. John has moved that County Council approve a budget increase of $50,000 for a total of $300,000 funded from the Public Works Project Reserve for the Mount Meadows Slope Remediation Project. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And the third and final one. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move that the county council approve the budget increase of $50,000 for a total of $450,000 funded from the Bridges and Paved Road Reserve for the Bridge File 70758 project.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that County Council approve a budget increase of $50,000 for a total of $450,000 funded from the Bridges and Paved Road Reserve for the Bridge File 70758 project. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, Devin.
Thank you, Council.
Brings us almost to 9:30. I'm assuming you're a 9:30 delegation? If you're ready, you're more than willing to come forward.
Where do you want us?
Just if you come up to these two front chairs here, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I have a few little pamphlets. Can I pass them out or something?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Betty Fehr. I'm the Executive Director of Agape Learning Center in the Parallel Church Complex. And this is Tina Savalini, who is our educational support, our learning support. Now, we're here for, I'm not sure if you know who we are, but we are in the county. This is a year that we celebrate our 40th year in our program, and I've been there from day one. And so we are looking at what we can do to improve and expand our services. We've had such fantastic feedback and results with our children. We have an inclusive program. We have 26 very high needs children that we include in our daycare, kindergarten, and pre-K. And we're running into a problem of not having enough space and enough resources to meet the needs of the families that want to come to us. Even though we're in the county, we also bus the children from Lethbridge West or north or south, and where we provide a service at a reasonable price. Now also with daycare, because of the government changes, it makes it sound really, really great what they're doing, giving $15 daycare, but a lot of centers have to also charge additionally for their food services and all that. We are not doing that because we are servicing a lot of families who are in the very low income, and we're going to find a way that we can meet their needs and give them good meals and snacks and stuff as required. But we are here because we are looking at hopefully that you'll partnership with us. Like I said, we've been with the county for 40 years, and we've been very independent. We have been independent from the church. Any kind of needs that we've ever had from day one, we've always did fundraising with our families and stuff. Our families are getting strapped right now. They don't have a lot of extra, and our health inspector and safety inspector is saying that we must upgrade our playground and possibly include another playground that's more inclusive for our younger children with their toddler age. So with that, we've looked at a lot of different things that we could do and possibly apply for grants and that, but the health inspector is saying that we must have something done with the playground no later than September 1st of this year. Well, that means it's too quick. So we are approaching a few people, I knew as one, to see if you'd come alongside with us to partnership with us and we welcome any of you to come see our program anytime. Just come see who we are and see what we do. We have a complete graduation program for our kindergarten, gowns and everything else. We've had Like I said, we've been functioning for 40 years this year. So that's what we're here for. We're hoping that you can take a look at our brochure. It's basically showing you briefly of who we are and what we do. And we get a lot of assistance from Allied Health, and what other areas?
Well, so there's the 3 programs on site, like we have a daycare, one, which is funded separately from the school program. Under the school program, we have kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, and we run that out of the parallel church. So this playground that we're hoping to improve, that we have to for health and safety reasons, also the church community access that. So it's not just for the school or whatever, like it's a bigger community thing, so we're really hoping that we can make that. And there's a lot, just the fact that there's so many children with needs, and you know, we want everybody to belong and to be a part of our outdoor play yards and play spaces and have access to them with all the varying needs that we have in the community nowadays. We do service a lot of families. Not only do we service those kids, we support the families along the way,
Yeah.
so we really,
Yeah.
and we're really, the research out there showing how outdoor play is very valuable, and we really want to focus on that. We've started a bit of an outdoor classroom as well, but again, we're just looking to improve that. But,
Yeah, and more
but our
resources.
bigger playground is the one where we have the issues with the health and safety. So
Yeah.
I'd be happy to take any questions too.
Awesome, yeah, I'll open it up to council for any questions you might have. Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 2 things. When you said inclusive, do you mean for all ages of children, or what? I didn't quite catch all
All
that.
ages of children and all abilities. So we have lots of children with, with varying diagnoses like autism and Down syndrome and so on, so we help service those families as well. We've also had children with a lot of physical disabilities through the program. This current year, we have just one that uses a walker, so to be able to access these play yards and have that sort of accessible play spaces, we could improve those definitely.
And the other question is, what is your estimated cost of this upgrade?
Well,
So-
I've talked to a few people who actually work on the playgrounds, and we've got a few volunteers that are willing to help us. So with the assistance that we can possibly get, even with families doing some of the work, because we have to take up a lot of the surfacing ourselves before a new surfacing can be put down underneath the playground. So when I got my estimate, roughly, she said she'll do it in writing, but it was too quick. She said it would cost between $30,000 to $50,000 to improve that playground. The structure the structure itself, the ship that you will see in the very front it was put up, and the surfacing underneath at 2007. So that's about 17 years old. And so that is why it's very important that we do it.
So the
quickly.
photo there in the front that you see, it's wooden, and that's where Betty and her husband have spent hours already trying to get it to repair by filling in the cracks for the wood because it's splintered and sanding it down. But the bigger problem is actually the
surfacing.
surface. It's those tiles. For health and safety, because of the height of the structure, they're saying that they're not acceptable at this point anymore because of the wear and tear.
So we will get a lot of people helping us, volunteering to help us take things apart and doing a bunch of cleanup and that kind of thing. It's just the actual cost of materials is so high. And when I was saying, I think we can do it for $30,000 because of what she said the cost of each tile and things was. And she says, don't go there, because what if you have to replace the surfacing underneath the tiles as well? And that itself will cost additional.
Any other? Yeah, go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do you have a specific ask of us, or is this just coming to us and saying, please help as much as you can?
I personally don't like to just give a number and say, please, we want this X amount of dollars. Like I said, we've been self-supportive for the 40 years. We've done the best we can on our own. So I would say that coming to you, whatever we can get as anything from you, I'd like to go back to even our bank and say we match it so that we can get going on this. or go to another business and ask them if they'll match it, but I know that the total would be $50,000, so whatever you feel that you're able to provide.
Some goal?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think our, our typical process or recommendation would be that if there was a plan with a specific dollar amount and an ask, then we would have that submitted to us in writing. We can do a review against our policies and bylaws that are passed to make sure, does this qualify? If it does, what is that process? Are there grants that we offer that are available, and what could that be? And then we can make a recommendation back to council. I would be remiss to make a recommendation today without a specific plan or fully understanding that, and doing a review of our funding, just to ensure that it's compliant with the policies that we have in place.
Who would it be great?
If you send the intake to Candace and we can get you that contact information, the same as how you would have set up the delegation, then we'll funnel it to the appropriate party once we have the information and understand who needs to review that.
Do you want the breakdown of what the cost would be?
Yeah, we would request that there's a specific plan and what the actual ask is in the form of a letter or something directed to county council, and then we can do that review and provide a recommendation from there.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So is this playground open to the public other than
Yes.
your hours of operation?
We've even seen people on the weekend that, because we've set up the outdoor playground that we want to expand with our children in pre-K and kindergarten as well. So we have a big gazebo and we have a nice area there with picnic tables and that kind of thing. So we've even seen on weekends that people have pulled in there and had picnics. They take their, because we're on 40 acres, they take their dogs for the run, and we've got the playground open for their children. So it is open to the public.
Anything else? Yeah, thank you very much for both coming in today. We appreciate the presentation, and as Cole mentioned, if you'd be able to have a more detailed application, connect with Candace, and staff will bring us something back. I think we're actually probably more familiar than we like with playgrounds, just with the work that Ryan and his team at Ag Services has done over the years, replacing our hamlet playgrounds, and fully understand the cost is actually quite surprising how much it can add up on some of these play structures and playgrounds. So thank you for everything you did and continue to do, and we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Would you like to do that subdivision, Hillary, or? Okay. We'll move it down to our addition D1-2 subdivision application 2025-0-011 Vanderbrink Cattle Co. Limited.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. Steve Hardy sends his regards. He is up in Edmonton with his girls at a volleyball tournament, so I'm pinch hitting for him, so hopefully I do him justice today. It's just the one subdivision for your consideration as a subdivision authority, and that subdivision is located just on the west side of the hamlet of Shaughnessy. You may recall at the last council meeting, there was a public hearing to rezone the lands from urban fringe to hamlet industrial to allow for the expansion and so that their zoning complied. And so now they had also submitted concurrently their subdivision application to subdivide those lots out. There would be 2 lots created as a result of this subdivision. The first being on the north end of that area, which is 1.97 acres in size. This particular parcel would be consolidated with the adjacent lands to directly to the east to facilitate the growth of an existing business within the hamlet of Shaughnessy. And then there is a 1.21 acre parcel on the south side. As you can see in this pink area here, that's the area that was rezoned. That would just be for a future hamlet industrial parcel, so no plans in place yet for that particular parcel to be created. When we were in talks with the applicant with regards to this subdivision and the rezoning, we did leave a gap. As you can see, it's not solid in there. The reason being is that this would allow for future access via road network into that area, just kind of doing some pre-planning. There's no area structure plan to help guide this, so in terms of just future, making sure that we're not cutting off access, it was determined that we would just have a space, which would be a road width space, to accommodate a future road and allow for potentially some more development moving to further to the west as time goes on. So if you're just looking at that and wondering why there's that gap, that's the reason why we put that in place. With regards to the subdivision itself, the subdivision was circulated to all relevant agencies. As you can, I know that council hadn't had a chance to review this. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the agenda package when it was sent out originally. But in looking at the comments that came back, there were no comments or concerns with regards to anything from any utilities or with regards to historical resources or Alberta Transportation on this particular application. There's no comments or objections at all. With regards to some other considerations, these subdivisions would require would have municipal reserve owing on them on the 1.97 and 1.21 acre parcels. The total, if you did the calculations, would be just over $4,000 in municipal reserve as a result of that subdivision. And so that's the one of the conditions that is also on the draft resolution. And it would probably help if I actually put it up on the screen. I apologize. There's the map. This particular rezoning does comply with the county's, the rezoning and the subdivision comply with the county's municipal development plan and our hamlet growth studies that look to maintaining and growing our hamlets in size, especially with regards to non-residential uses. It meets a lot of the county's strategic plans in terms of growth and development in the county. So with that, in reviewing this application, a recommendation of approval is before you. I'll just pull up the resolution so that you can take a look at what the conditions are. So as I mentioned, the municipal reserve would be a requirement on those two parcels, coming in at a market value of $12,000 per acre. And the following conditions would also are proposed for your consideration. The first being that all taxes are paid and up to date. The second being that a development be entered into if required. In the case of a development agreement for this area, it would most likely apply to the southerly parcel, just to ensure that there's proper access and utilities to that parcel, as the northern parcel is being consolidated. Servicing isn't and access aren't particularly a consideration. The third condition is that they would need to have a plan of survey done on the titles so that they would not be further subdivided without subdivision authority approval. Fourth, that the applicant submits that the exact locations and dimensions are correct through their surveyor. Fifth, that the complete a soils analysis on the southerly lot, just to ensure that it would be eventually tied into, obviously, the hamlet water and wastewater systems, but in the interim there may be an opportunity to have an on-site system, so making sure that there's no concerns with that. That the existing water irrigation line installed along the parent parcel be located, and that the utility right-of-way plan and easement agreement be registered for the water line concurrently with this subdivision. That's also going to be in conjunction with the operations department, just because there is that water line that goes through there that we need to either secure or and ensure that we have the proper easements in place as required. And the last being that any easements by ATCO Gas or utility companies or the county are established prior to the finalization. So with those 7 conditions and the municipal reserve, we have recommendation to approve subdivision 2025-0-011. Back to you,
Thank you
Mr. Chair.
very much. Hillary, I'd open up to council for any questions you might have. Quayler and Claus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a question on Lot 11, Block 1, at 1.21
Yep.
acres. how can it have a private septic system on it? Or how does that work?
It would be an interim use only. It would typically, if it was an industrial use, say in our industrial parks, we would have a pump out system, not a septic field in place. But if there is going to be any development on here, it would be likely that we would have them connect into, if they're into the hamlet's water and wastewater system on the existing servicing. So, but it's just an interim plan, in case there's something that wants to come in, and maybe services aren't ready to be installed.
Oh, I'm sorry. So is there already a wastewater line on that side of the highway?
I
Did they
do
get
believe
hooked
so,
in?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Claus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Isn't this the area where they had drainage problems a couple of years ago? Because I recall getting some phone calls from the people from the hamlet.
I might defer to see if Devin knows if there's any drainage areas in this particular area. Not that I'm aware of, at least not recently. It is where the former lagoons were for the hamlet of Shaughnessy were in this location, like the water reservoirs were in this location, but I'm not specifically aware of any drainage issues.
No, I'm not aware of any for this particular area. I know just south of those industrial lots on the west side of the highway, there's a bit of a low spot in there. But I'm not aware of where this subdivision is occurring, that there's any significant drainage issues, and I just haven't heard anything.
Any other questions? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that subdivision application 2025-0-011 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation that subdivision application 2025-0-011 be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary. That takes us to 9:50. We have our 10 a.m. public hearing, so why don't we recess and return call our meeting back to order at 10:01 a.m. this morning. We can move in our agendas down to item F, public hearings. We have 2 public hearings scheduled for today. We have public hearings for Bylaw 25-005 and Bylaw 25-011. So with that, we'll recess our regular meeting, and we are here today to hold a public hearing for Bylaw 25-005, amendment to the Lethbridge County and Town of Nobleford Intermunicipal Development Plan. I'd ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Clause is moved to open the public hearing for Bylaw 25-005. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. The public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. The public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. And with that, the public hearing for Bylaw 25-005 is now officially open. I will now ask the Manager of Planning and Development to review the nature of the hearing and provide an overview of what is being proposed. Hillary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Council. Bylaw 25-005 is a cleanup for the intermunicipal development plan between the town of Nobleford and Lethbridge County. In December of 2024, a 50-acre parcel was annexed into the town of Nobleford as approved through a subdivision and annexation process throughout 2024. And as such, the intermunicipal development plan now needs to be updated to reflect that particular change. Typically, we try to do those changes within the 6 months of the annexation happening, just so our documents are up to date. So this amendment is, it's not complicated, it's just a mapping exercise to update all the maps within the IDP to ensure they all reflect the current state of the boundaries between Lethbridge County and the town of Nobleford. That pretty much concludes my report, Mr. Chair. There's not a lot to add. In the agenda package, you will see the bylaw that's there. The verbiage in that particular bylaw just states that the IDP will be updated and that the maps shall be updated accordingly. And that's essentially all there is to this particular bylaw amendment. So with that, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you, Hillary. This is Council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask that you refrain from asking questions to Council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councillors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councillor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations to Council start with the applicant who has made a submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of Council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter. To clarify any details, no debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. With that, I would ask if the applicant chooses to speak at this time. I would ask if there's anyone else wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. For a third time, I would ask if there's anyone else wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. With that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Mark?
Move we close the public hearing.
Mark has moved to close the public hearing Mark has moved to close the public hearing for Bylaw 25-005. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Hillary, anything else?
Nope, that's everything. As I mentioned, this is pretty straightforward, just to ensure that the IDP is up to date with regards to that annexation.
Thank you, Hillary. You have 2 recommendations before you. John?
I'd like to move that Bylaw 25-005 be read a second time.
Thank you, John. John has moved that Bylaw 25-005 be read for a second time. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And third reading. Clause.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move that Bylaw 25-005 be read a third time.
Thank you, Clause. Clause move the recommendation that Bylaw 25-005 be read for a third time. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We can move down then to our second public hearing for today. We are here today for the public hearing for Bylaw 25-011, amendment to the Lethbridge County. I'm reading this right?
Did I write it wrong?
Right? Amendment 2511, amendment to the Lethbridge County and Town of Nobleford Intermunicipal Development Plan, Rural Light Industrial Use.
Yep.
Did I cut and paste right? Thank you.
I did cut and paste right.
Thank you. I would ask for a motion to open the public hearing for bylaw 25-011. Lauren?
I would make a motion to open the public hearing for bylaw 25-011.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren has moved to open the public hearing for bylaw 25-011. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. The public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. The public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. With that, the public hearing for bylaw 25-011 is now officially open. I will now ask Manager Planning and Development to review the nature of the hearing and provide an overview of what is being proposed. Hillary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regards to this particular amendment to the Lethbridge County and Town of Nobleford Intermunicipal Development Plan, an application has been made by a business owner to amend that plan. They have been running a business off of the property that is non-compliant with the Intermunicipal Development Plan, the zoning, and they don't have a development permit. So they have a few things that are outstanding. The first step was to look at the Intermunicipal Development Plan to see if a consideration, an amendment could be considered by both the County Council and the Town of Nobleford Councils to allow for this trucking operation to carry on this parcel. The amendment, if the amendment to the IDP would be approved, they would have to then apply to the county, not obviously to both municipalities, but just to the county for a rezoning, to rezone the property to the appropriate industrial land use district and obtain their development and safety codes permits as required. The proposed amendment to the IDP is to allow for that rural light industrial use within planning area A, specifically within the southwest 151123 west of the 4th. On the screen and in your agenda package on Schedule A, we have identified this kind of reddish area on that southwest 151123 quarter section. That was the location of where the existing business is located and obviously where they would like to continue to operate. In addition to the existing structures and parking area that they have, they would also like to put in a water reservoir to establish a truck wash for their vehicles. And so that's why the area is kind of a bit broader than just the area of the actual operation to date. The proposed application has been discussed with the Town of Nobleford and the county's Intermunicipal Development Committee, and the policies have been amended to the satisfaction of those committee members, and those committee members could obviously speak to this if they felt so chose at some point in time during this public hearing or during the discussion on second reading. The amendments to the Intermunicipal Development Plan include an update to Map 10 to show the area as a rural industrial commercial area, which is as identified in this Schedule A. And we have also updated the policies within Planning Area 2 to account for this change to this particular area. This area was originally identified for some limited country residential uses, but because of the impact of and extent of Stud Horse Lake in this area, not a lot of other development was contemplated, and so a lot of consideration was given with regards to the changes to the policy to address the sensitivity of Stud Horse Lake and the fact that it's a drain for the town and it has a kind of unknown pattern for dispersion. It kind of goes all underground and then disappears. So it is an area that the town was particularly concerned about, just ensuring that there wouldn't be any negative impacts to Stud Horse Lake. And so the policies that were created kind of would reflect that, so that some environmental assessments have to be done to ensure that there's no impact to Stud Horse Lake if this IDP amendment were approved and subsequent rezoning, that their development isn't going to impact Stud Horse Lake or anything with regards to what the town's drainage is into that particular drainage area. So this application was circulated to external agencies for their review and comment, specifically Alberta Environment and Parks and Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors. I did hear back from Alberta Environment and Parks And they provided the following comments as in your agenda package, that under the Water Act, the town is already outletting to Steadhorse Lake as an adequate outlet. Provided stormwater is appropriately managed, they would likely not be any approvals required under Water Act for this particular development. As always, if wetlands were to be impacted as a result of the development, an approval under the Water Act would be required. There are some wetland obviously identified in this area, as Steadhorse Lake is essentially one giant wetland. So a wetland assessment, the applicant understands a wetland assessment will probably have to be, or will be completed prior to, or with rezoning and prior to development. Alberta Transportation also submitted comments, but they didn't have any outward concerns, just that any traffic would be mitigated through the development permit process. In reviewing this application, Lethbridge County Administration has the following comments. The proposed amendment would allow the landowners obviously to rezone the lands to an industrial district and obtain their appropriate development permits for their existing non-compliant use. The trucking operation is currently associated with rural agricultural activities in the area, so they're an agricultural trucking company essentially, at least at this point in time. The concerns around the impact to Steadhorse Lake have been addressed through the inclusion of additional policies to Planning Area 2. The Industrial Commercial Land Use Strategy and Municipal Development Plan provide criteria for the approval of an isolated commercial industrial development such as this, and have the following locational criteria: that it be located on fragmented or poor agricultural land. An isolated development shall be adjacent to a road network that can accommodate the development's traffic volume, have access to services and utilities, be compatible with adjacent land uses or mitigate any negative impacts, and address drainage and stormwater runoff. As we've kind of already discussed, the area is predominantly, the lands are predominantly covered by Steadhorse Lake, so the lands are poor in quality agriculturally wise. They are important from an environmental standpoint, but they aren't significant as an agricultural land base. The proposed development is located about 1.3 kilometers from Highway 23, and while not directly adjacent to the highway, they would have relatively decent access to the highway network. Regarding services, they have all the applicable services already on the site to operate this particular business. The use may have off-site impacts to adjacent landowners, although I did send out a notice to all the adjacent landowners. I did not hear anything back, so I'm assuming that their current operation is not negatively impacting those adjacent landowners. Stormwater and drainage will be addressed at the time of rezoning, as Steadhorse Lake will need to be protected from any effluent coming from the business operations, saying the proposed truck wash and lagoon system that they want to put in, and water reservoir. And the amended policies in the IDP address that the developer must submit that engineering and or technical studies to support their application. I did send out, as mentioned, this notice to the affected landowners within that area, kind of all along the range road and township roads leading to Highway 3, just so that they are aware of the application, in case they weren't aware that this was an unpermitted development. Once again, I did not hear anything back. And this was advertised in 3 consecutive weeks of the Sunday South News, mostly just because the timing between our public hearing and the town of Nobleford's public hearing for the IDP amendments were they're about 2 weeks separate, so I wanted to ensure that there is adequate advertising to cover that difference. No comments or concerns have been submitted as a result of either the landowner notification or the notice put in the newspaper. As mentioned, as this is an amendment to the IDP, the town of Nobleford also has to have a public hearing and approve the amendment prior to it coming into effect. And the town of Nobleford is going to have their public hearing for this, and also the prior one that county council approved for the annexation amendment on May 27th, so just in 12 days from now. And once they have made their decision, I will relay that information back to council, whether it was approved by the town or not, and also to the applicant, obviously. With that, that concludes my report and my comments with regards to this particular application. I have provided a recommendation that second and third reading of this bylaw be considered by county council on the basis of my report. Turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Hillary. This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councillors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councillor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations to council will start with the applicant who has made a submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of the council. With that, I would ask if the applicant requests to speak at this time. I'll ask if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. I ask a third time if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move they close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 25-011. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Hillary, do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. As mentioned, just to reiterate that this was reviewed by the Intermunicipal Development Committee from between the town and the county, and the policies that were created to address this particular issue were approved by both, obviously, the administration on the county and the town side. There wasn't any concerns there. So with that, I feel like moving forward on this application, there's enough policy in place to protect the interests of the town regarding Studhorse Lake. And in the county's perspective, the development seems pretty innocuous to the area and wouldn't negatively impact any adjacent landowners. So I would stand by the recommendation.
Thank you, Hillary. I'd open up to council for any questions, discussions, or direction. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would concur, just speaking on part of, as a member of the IDP committee, the, you know, that particular area was originally slated for country residential, and something like this really wasn't contemplated, but looking at where the site is and its effect on the area, although it wasn't contemplated at the time the original IDP was put together, it's, as Hillary put, I think the word innocuous is really adequately describes the situation there. So that, all that being said, I'd like to move that bylaw 25-011 be read a second time.
Thank you, John. John has moved that bylaw 25-011 be read for a second time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And third reading. Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bylaw 25-011 be read a third time.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that bylaw 25-011 be read for a third time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, Hillary.
Thank you.
We get to do this one more time, Hillary?
You bet.
Awesome. Thank you, Hillary. Why don't we move back up in our agendas to our administration item. We had one D2.1 Prairie Tractor and Engine Museum donation request.
Good morning, Council. Prairie Tractor and Engine Museum has submitted their formal request for a donation of up to 4 loads of gravel. For those of you that don't know, Prairie Tractor and Engine Museum is a nonprofit society that preserves and showcases agriculture heritage through its Pioneer Village site. It features restored historical buildings and antique equipment, offering their visitors a step back in time. They have asked for 4 loads of gravel or as much as possible to help maintain the internal roads and pathways on the grounds. Administration has recommended that council decline the donation for gravel request in alignment with policy 161, which is the donations to community organizations, programs, events, and activities policy. This policy states that gravel donations will not be granted. So therefore this request is not compliant with that existing policy. And I will throw it back to you.
Thank you, Candace. I would open it up to council for any comments, discussion. I do feel a tad bit bad that this came back in this way, because I do feel like we dealt with this. However, I know there wasn't, some comments were made about having a formal request, so appreciate the Prairie Tractor Museum putting forth their formal request. I think Mark spoke really well to this last time when we discussed it. We have a number of community associations that receive funding every year from the county, and the Prairie Tractor is one of those organizations that receives $10,000 a year. I know I've had requests from community association within my division regarding gravel, and we've been consistent in our response that gravel is not within our donation policy. So I will not be supporting this request for that reason. And yeah, I would open up to council for any discussion and direction.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
thank you,
Morris.
Mr. Chairman, I hear your comments, and I think the county has been doing probably assisting the Prairie Tractor Club fairly good on a yearly basis, and I just like to say we have so many other requests coming in all the time, and I think the Prairie Tractor Club is doing really well. And my personal feeling is if they would approach some of the members, they'd be gladly to give a few loads of gravel from whatever member. So I'm okay with denying the request.
Anyone else? How would you like to proceed?
Morris, make the motion.
We don't technically need a motion, but I think it would be good if we at least direct administration to write a letter back, just outlining.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it is a great organization.
Yeah.
But we gotta let it sound like this, right? Everyone has their volunteers, what doing what they do.
Thank you, Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to move that we direct administration to write a letter to the Prairie Tractor and Engine Museum outlining our donation policy and give our regrets for not being able to support their request for the gravel.
Thank you, John. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. Thanks, John. Correspondence. Right. G. We have 3 pieces of correspondence. As Devin already touched on in his report, the first item, Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors. There is a letter from Minister Dreeshen outlining the Shaughnessy Wastewater Lagoon Upgrades grant with a maximum upside of just over $1 million. The final grant amount to be based on the actual eligible cost at the time of project completion. So as Devin stated earlier, we had applied for this in the past and were unsuccessful, so it was good to see that your persistence paid off, Devin. Thank you very much. That's good to see. Our second item, you have a piece of correspondence before you from the Alberta lamb producers outlining their conference and AGM and their sponsorship package. The Alberta lamb producers invites you to sponsor and participate in the 2025 ALP AGM and conference, help support the development of Alberta sheep industry and receive recognition as a key industry partner. This year's event promises to be bigger and better, with an exciting 2-day event planned at the Coast Lethbridge Hotel and Conference Center in Southern Alberta. This takes place in November, Friday, November 14th to 15th. Deadline for sponsorship is the 1st of October. And then if you scroll down, there's the varying levels of sponsorship from presenting, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, coffee, and there's also the opportunity for a trade fair booth. So you have that before you for your consideration. Is there any discussion, any appetite on that item? Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we know whether we've sponsored this in the past?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not certain. We couldn't find anything, and this was an industry partner that we're less familiar with, and it's why we put it in correspondence, really to see if council had some sentiments towards it, because we didn't feel strongly one way or another that we could provide a recommendation to support or to not support. It's just, it's not an area that we see a lot of in the county or have done a lot of work with.
Anything else? Any thoughts? Cliff?
I think that there may be some value in having a presence at the trade fair to, make sure that the county is noted and we can may be able to, have some interactions with the people at the trade fair about some of the initiatives that we're having. But I would also kind of leave that up to administration to see whether there's any merit to that.
Go ahead, Klaus.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is kind of a little bit of slippery slope, because I mean, if we're going to be giving anything, donation or whatever toward this, I think there's so many different organizations there, and I'll just name one, the Alberta Milk Producers. And I mean, we've had all those, and we never did anything for any of the other ones. The beef producers, just go on. There's so many organizations there that I think it's there's no end to it.
Cole, did you have anything to add on John's point?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have strong sentiments towards it. I think that if we're catching a lot of people regionally, I would agree with Deputy Reeve Kerbis that it could be a benefit to us having a presence there. Maybe we could, if it's okay with council, we can take it away. We could ask our communications and ag services team to look at who the target audience is and then make a determination as to whether it's worth our administration's time to present there, and if that's the right audience. And if it is, we're more than willing to. We've got a lot of great feedback, and we have a lot of great engagement from these types of events where we've shown up more, and that's translated to, I would say, a lot of positive upside for us in the county. So I would agree in theory. I would want to see who the actual participants are first, if that's fair.
I think we're on the same page with that. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I was leading to anyway.
Okay, yeah, perhaps we have that brought back at some point. We do have time, so, yeah.
Maybe if I could just ask then that, Ryan, you work with Maddie and just assess that.
Sounds good. Thank you. Item 3, Rodeo Reds invite. Join Lethbridge's newest, greatest invite-only club, Friday, May 23rd. Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center. Shine up those boots. You're invited to the wildest Western Bash Lethbridge has ever seen. An exclusive first look at Lethbridge District Pro Rodeo programming, live music, the chance to rub elbows with rodeo athletes, appetizers, games vendors, wild surprises. The Rodeo Reds is an exclusive and invite-only after-party Friday, May 23rd. Rock your best Western wear, boots, hats, denim, and all, at the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center. So you have that invitation for you. Yeah. So if you have any interest in that, follow up. And with that, that takes us down to our county council and committee updates.
If I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to put something on the agenda. I was asked a couple of days ago by the link pathway. You must have gotten that too, Ross, maybe? That we would bring this forward at council meeting, and I forgot to put that on the agenda this morning. But anyways, the bottom line is they're very pleased with the cooperation of the county helping them getting going forward to the link pathway. The county has been very cooperative on that. That's basically why.
Awesome. That's great to hear, Morris. Thank you. Why don't we start in Division 1? Councillor Lauren Hickey. Lauren?
Thank you. April 2nd was the county and city IDP meeting. That was kind of interesting, I guess. I'm not quite sure totally where we're headed on that one yet. I think there was very good discussion at it. It's just a matter of whether or not the ideas out of that meeting get passed on to city council, because I think everybody here is pretty well up to date on what we talked about So hopefully the other side of the street there gets the message as well. On April the 2nd, attended the FCSS board meeting, and the all councils meeting was the same night. That was a good event, very well attended. April the 3rd was the Lethbridge County Council meeting. The 7th was the Health Professional and Recruitment Retention Committee meeting. The 12th was the Green Acres Spring Fling as their staff appreciation event. Again, that's very well attended, and where they recognize their and offer their service awards, and they have some staff that have been there for 30-plus years, and they're well recognized. So, April the 17th, County Council. The 22nd was the Audit Committee meeting, and we have a new group of auditors this year from the same company, but different faces. 23rd, Green Acres Finance meeting. The 24th was Lethbridge County Council Special Council meeting, and that was for the passing of the financial statements, the audited financial statements. And April 26th, I attended the sod turning for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints Temple. And the 27th to the 30th, attended the planning conference in Red Deer. And a couple of things out of there that came up, and there was quite a bit of talk about data centers and the noise and problems that are associated with them. I didn't realize that it was that big a deal, but apparently there is quite concern over the amount of noise that comes out of one, which I'm not familiar with because I didn't know they did make a lot of noise. But, and also Brownlee talked about the same thing, as well as energy projects. So renewable energy plants, ones that require a lot of water, you can control them, but anyone who applies for one is automatically almost given the permit. Where the touchy part comes in is the water they need for cooling of the plants. And she spent a lot of time talking about that. So I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer. She's very well versed in it. If the situation ever arises, I think it would be a good idea to have her do a presentation on that. But that was a very good conference. So that was my month. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Division 2, April 2nd, Cole and I met to prepare for our trip to Montreal for the Canadian Produce Marketers Association conference and convention. Second, as Lauren mentioned, went across the street for our county city IDP meeting. Then that evening, also attended the All Councils meeting with Lauren for FCSS. The third, County Council meeting. And then we had a Chinook Arch Library board meeting that evening. Fourth, attended Mayors and Reeves. April 8th to 11th, again, Cole and I were in Montreal with Sandra Dufresne from Canada's Premier Food Corridor, representing the region and the county at the CPMA convention. Just another big hats off to Sandra and the team at CPFC, EDL. It was very kind of them to include us and did a great job representing not only Lethbridge, Southern Alberta, and the region. Had a lot of good conversations, and those are continuing up to yesterday, and again today, having some more meetings from spill off from that. The 16th, EDL board meeting. The 17th, Lethbridge County Council meeting. 24th, a special council meeting. Division 3, Councillor Mark Sayers. Mark.
Thank you, Reed Campbell. April 1st was a South Grow meeting that was requested by the Leader of the Opposition. So we had a chance to listen to them, and they listened to us. So April 2nd, the county city IDP meeting across the street again. April 3rd was county council meeting. April 11th, Kevin and my wife Pat and I and Maddie attended the Lethbridge Polytechnic Local Producers Gala, which was a great event, and the food was amazing. So it was a great evening, and got to chat with some of the folks there and some of the instructors at the college. April 17th was Lethbridge County Council meeting. April 22nd was the Water Commission meeting. The one I missed was April 24th. I was here. I missed putting it in my report. Was the special council meeting, and on that evening was the South Grow quarterly meeting.
Thank you, Mark. Division 4, Deputy Reeve Curbis. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, outside of my weekly meetings with the Community Futures Executive Director and my commitments there, on April 3rd, I had the Lethbridge County Council meeting, and April 16th, we had a Regional Waste Commission meeting. April 17th, we had a County Council meeting, and April 22nd, a Regional Water Commission meeting. So it was a busy little bit of time for the commissions. April 22nd as well, I had an audit committee meeting, and I would like to extend my appreciation to the staff and KPMG for their time to put that together. I know it is a pretty large task to go through that process, and it's important that we acknowledge their time put into that. April 26th or 23rd, in a meeting with Pan West representative. Pan West is the overseeing body for Community Futures that is basically a federal government branch, and they're the people that deal with the regulations and controls for Community Futures, for those that don't know. April 23rd, we had a Community Futures monthly board meeting. April 24th, we had a Lethbridge County Special County Council meeting. And then April 27th to 30th, I attended the CPAA convention. And to sort of feed off what Lauren has said, there was a lot of talk there about data centers and renewable energy. I appreciate these conferences because it is a mixture of urban and rural, and there's you get a very good perspective on how some of the urbans, both medium and smaller, are dealing with some of the planning considerations and crisis that they're going through. And it helps, I think, from our standpoint to be able to align some of our policies that may be able to assist them, and or if there are issues that may be encroaching on the rural lifestyle, we've got a bit of an inroad of how we can combat and work with that to make sure that we maintain the integrity of our organization. So, and that is it for me.
Thank you, John. Division 5, Councillor Slop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. April 3rd, I joined in by teams for council meeting. April 11th, went to the Lethbridge Polytechnic Local Producers Gala with Mark and his wife and Maddie. Just want to say Maddie did a phenomenal job on her videos that she put together of some of the local producers. April 17th, council meeting. April 22nd, audit committee meeting. And April 24th, special council meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Division 6, Councillor Vanderveen.
April 16th, we had the Waste Committee meeting. April 17th, we had the Lethbridge County Council meeting, and the 24th, the Special Council meeting.
Thank you, Claus. Division 7, Councillor Morris Eenstra. Morris.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. April the 3rd, Lethbridge County Council meeting, April the 17th, Lethbridge County Council meeting, and April the 24th, Lethbridge County Special Council meeting. April 27th to the 30th, CPA and Rodeo.
Thank you very much, Morris. That brings us down to our CAO update. I believe, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
Bother you for 1 second,
Yeah.
thank you. Also at the CPA, there was quite a bit of talk on, not a topic at the convention, but on amalgamation and the costs to municipalities who have to take over another municipality. It was kind of interesting to hear what has happened in some locations and the problems that are arising from that.
Thank you. Cole, did you have something that you wanted to do in the public portion before we moved into the closed? Is that correct?
Yeah, you bet. My apologies for not putting it on there. We were just finalizing details. So I would just share with council that on June the 12th, we're going to have an office closure at 11:30 a.m. So that's our annual safety event where we bring all the staff together. We do coordinated training, and we've got a variety of things that the team's working through. So the team will be in Pitcher Butte that afternoon. So the office will be open in the morning. till 11:30 a.m., the team will communicate that out so that there's fair notice for everybody that needs to access any services. And we'll have the standard on-call. If something comes up, we are around, but just wanted council to know that that's what's occurring on that day.
Awesome. Is there anything else in the public portion of our meeting? If not, I would entertain a motion to enter a closed session. Go ahead, Morris. Thank you, Morris. Morris moved to go into a closed session at 10:41 a.m. this
All right, we have come out of the closed session, and don't believe there is any business requiring any motions as a result of that. If there is, and just for the information of the public, Tori had to leave at other commitments, so I've assumed the chair position for the balance of the meeting, which is all of the next 30 seconds. So can we entertain a motion to adjourn? Morse?